When you think about history, what usually comes to mind? Probably a finished story, right? Like a super polished painting or just a fact you had to memorize from a textbook. But the real story, well, that's almost always messier, way more complex, and honestly, a lot more interesting. So today, let's dive into the real detective work behind the history we think we know.
All right, so we're going to start with a classic image. You know the type I'm talking about. The kind you might see hanging in a big, important building that just seems to capture a huge historical moment perfectly in one shot.
And here it is. Wow. This is a super dramatic, action-packed scene from the Battle of Cowpens during the American Revolution. It was painted way back in 1845, and it's showing that final, intense, hand-to-hand cavalry clash. I mean, you can almost feel the chaos and the heroism, can't you? What's so amazing about this painting is just how convincing it is. It tells you a complete story all in a single frame.
But how much of this is actually true? See, that's the exact question historians started asking. Because when you start to look past all the drama of the painting and really dig into the historical record, a totally different picture starts to emerge. And this is where the real investigation begins.
Okay, so check this out. It turns out the painting gets some pretty big details wrong. For starters, those uniforms, most historians now are pretty sure the British cavalry wore green, not red, and the Americans probably wore white. And that amazing story about the young trumpeter saving his commander's life, well, it came from a biography, but there really aren't other sources to back it up. It's a perfect example of how history isn't just the story we're told, it's the story the evidence can actually support.
So, if we can't always trust that polished, picture-perfect version of history, where do we find the real story? Well, sometimes you gotta dig for it. And I mean, literally.
What you're looking at here is a project called ARCH, which stands for Backyard Archaeology. How cool is that? This is at the site of the Battle of Hobkirk's Hill. You've got professionals and amateurs working side by side, actually getting permission from homeowners to survey their land. They're turning these totally normal-looking modern yards back into a historical site, one little piece at a time.
And this is the kind of stuff they find. These aren't just random old bits of lead. These are fired British musket balls pulled right from the battlefield. Now this is hard evidence. I mean, unlike a painting made decades after the fact, these objects, they were there. They're a direct physical link to what really happened.
But, artifacts like musket balls only tell you part of the story. To really get the context, to understand the people and the tiny details, you've got to hit the archives. You got to follow the paper trail.
Okay, so let's solve a little mystery together. At a place called the Battle of Blackstock's Plantation, American sources kept talking about a British officer named Major Money. But when you look at the official British records, they call him a lieutenant. So which one is it? It might sound like a tiny detail, but getting these things right is what historical accuracy is all about.
Well, by digging through a bunch of different documents, the answer starts to become pretty clear. Turns out there's an order from back in June 1780 signed by John Money with the title Town Major. Now, that was a specific job, not his actual military rank. So the American eyewitnesses, who knew him by his job title, just called him Major. But the official British reports from his commanders, guys named Tarleton and Cornwallis, they list his actual rank, lieutenant. And boom, mystery solved. In this little case study, it just goes to show you, establishing even a single, seemingly small fact is a real act of investigation. It means you have to cross-reference your sources, you have to understand the context, and you have to piece all the clues together just right.
But here's something that's super important to remember. This kind of work, all the archaeology, all the dusty archival research, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's really, truly a team sport.
I mean, it really does take a village to preserve the past. It's this huge collaborative effort between a whole community of dedicated people. We're talking professionals, amateurs, and just passionate history buffs, all working together. Just look at these historical reenactors, for example. These guys aren't just playing dress-up. They are serious researchers. Here you're seeing members of the 30 Continental Light Dragoons showing off some 18th century cavalry skills, like a mounted sword attack. They take all this meticulous research and combine it with public education, and they bring history to life in a way that old documents just can't.
And this community is just incredibly diverse. You've got formal organizations like SCAR, that's the Southern Campaigns of the American Revolution, and they facilitate all this research. Then you have more informal groups like the Corps of Discovery that just organize tours of battle sites for literally anyone who's interested. You've got archaeologists working with volunteer metal detectorists, local historians sharing what they know with landowners. It's this amazing, dynamic exchange where everybody has something to contribute.
So, What's the point of all this, right? Why go to all this trouble just to correct a detail in a painting, or identify one musket ball, or figure out some officer's real rank?
Well, this line from that SCR newsletter pretty much says it all. A story unshared may become a sight unspared. Think about that. History that isn't being actively researched and talked about and shared and cared for, it's in real danger of just being forgotten. And when the story is forgotten, the actual physical places where it all happened can be lost forever.
So ultimately, this is about so much more than just the past. It's about a community, right now, in the present, making an active choice to uncover these stories, to understand them, and to preserve them. It's about making sure the real story remains a living, breathing part of our world.
And the coolest part is, this whole process of discovery isn't just for famous, faraway battlefields. It's happening everywhere, all the time. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What stories are waiting to be uncovered in your community? What forgotten histories are hiding right under our feet, maybe even in your own backyard?